All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Dental Procurement Unplugged. Look, we're excited about this episode and just what it's going to bring. I'm super excited about our guest. I've got Leann May from Iowa Dental Associates. Leann, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you today?
Fantastic. And again, I'm excited about our conversation today. Leann's got a diverse background. And so I think just to kick off, it's important for her to be able to share that. So, Leann, I'd love to learn for the audience to learn more about you and your path to where you are now, and then also about Iowa Dental Associates.
Sure. Yeah. So I started as a clinical assistant in dentistry with Heartland Dental about 17 years ago. So been in dentistry a while. I spent 13 or so years there with Heartland in many different forms and fashion. Office manager, supported multiple locations, played a role in procurement, on the education team, scanning, training, all kinds of different things, anything you can imagine. I probably worked with it or helped support it at some point. And then transitioned, about 4 years ago to P1 Dental Partners, which was a mid-size, smaller growing DSO. Was there for a few years, supported procurement, regional director of operations, and supported, the southern half of Indiana. Today, I kind of find myself in Iowa, supporting Iowa Dental Associates from an operations overall perspective. That's a little bit about my background. Iowa Dental Associates is a much different environment than where I've been historically. Smaller group, 10 locations. We are definitely growing. One thing that's uniquely different about us that I think is really important is we are not backed by private equity. So that is definitely unique in the DSO space. We don't have the intention to be. We have doctors who are willing to invest and help support the company grow. And that is our goal, to grow with intention that is done well and really partnering with practices that align with our core values, not just growing to grow. We are growing to partner with doctors and offices who meet and match with our values as an
Yeah.
organization.
No, I love that because that intentionality, right, of wanting to match your core values and match what's best for the doctor, the staff, but ultimately the patient is where you really start to make some cool things happen, right? To maybe take things to another level, not necessarily from a scale perspective, but just the offerings that you're providing. And so I love that about what you guys are doing. Like you said, it is a little unique to not have a private equity backing at this point. So excited for you guys and what that's going to bring. So, but I want to hit on something from just your background, and there's a lot that I want to. But the first thing I want to hit on is you mentioned one kind of in the office setting, but then you've mentioned working with Heartland. Heartland is a bigger group. We recognize that, but then you've been with P1 and helping them grow, and now you're with Iowa Dental Associates. And so I just want to ask a question since you've been in it: large versus growing DSO. All right, what's that biggest difference that you've kind of seen between living in both worlds?
Yeah, I think definitely lived in both worlds. The biggest difference that I see is adaptability. In a large DSO, adaptability and change management is challenging because you're trying to change hundreds of offices, thousands and thousands of people, where a smaller group, us at Iowa, we have adaptability already. Our teams, our doctors, they're personally investing in what we're doing. They are already on board. And so there's that adaptability, the change management. We don't have to focus or put so much time and effort into getting them on board because they're already on board. They're already here supporting us, not only working for us, but as a partner as well.
And it even goes back to what we just talked about as far as lining up with your core values. Like getting that on the front end helps with that adaptability. But what about as far as like, I'm curious from your perspective, because again, I've been in these different kind of settings too of larger versus smaller and up and coming. Talk about just like the ability to make things happen, whether it's the speed and the impact of decision making and the analytics piece. Like, is there a big difference in what you've seen in that?
Absolutely. I can roll something out at Iowa Dental Associates from a procurement perspective. Dentira, for example, I rolled that out in days and went from day one having no one on it to day three having everyone having access. It's set up, formularies in, we're ready to go. At a larger group, P1, for example, when I supported their rollout of Dentira, it took about 6 weeks because there's 50 offices to train, 5 times the amount of people that have to have the
Mhm.
believability. It takes more time. And so it's one thing I love about working in the small DSO space right now is I can get things, I'm an operations person, so we like to get things moving and rolling. And so I can get things moving and rolling very, very quickly. The one thing I do have to be aware of is too much at once. So I have to be a little careful with the smaller groups is we can get a lot of things going very quickly, but we have to be respectful and mindful that we're not overloading our people.
Yeah, I also sympathize with you that knowing like being able to move fast matters so much. As you were going through your own experience and your roles at the different organizations, it was more than just procurement. Right? I think every one of them you had some type of different other subset. And I think that's so common with people in your seat across the industry that they tend to take on more. They tend to do things, whether it's because of automation and simplifying processes with, a Dentira or other pieces are relying on their partners, but also what do they bring? And so if one thing delays, it doesn't just affect procurement. A lot of times with people in your seat, it actually maybe impacts operations or it impacts, if you're over facilities or some type of real estate kind of aspect, which is common as well, right? You start to see these other areas lag just to make an easy decision. So I have a high appreciation for that. But I think also for any of our smaller groups that are listening, or if you're contemplating kind of looking at a group and what platforms and change management looks like, doing it early. Right. It's so, I was actually meeting with a group earlier today. There's 7 locations and trying to get off the ground on some things and they haven't implemented this. And so they're kind of weighing the cost to it of, okay, we're going to be paying for a platform and what that looks like. It's something if you really want to scale to 50 or so, it's like an inevitable beast. And so get it early. Knock it out, get the kinks worked out. Like you said, you did it in days. And so there's something to that.
Absolutely. I think it is the most important piece of growing any group, any business really. You have to be able to scale and grow in a way that's going to add value to your investors, to your partners, to whoever it is. To be able to add value, you have to have that baseline structure. To be able to scale, you have to have scalability. Scalability comes through systems and processes that are in place before you start adding Office 10, 15, 20. That was one of my main focuses joining Iowa Dental Associates in July of last year was I sat down with our CEO, we have 12 months to have our systems in place so that when we start growing 12 months from now, it's adapting new offices who already fit our culture, who already fit our values to our processes, not trying to add and fix and implement all at the same time.
Yeah, it's huge. Getting that roadmap to where it's just let's follow the process and it's simplified. It makes people coming on board feel at ease, like they know what they're doing. They've given me the roadmap. It makes a huge difference. But you talked about scaling, and I want to transition to that a little bit because I'm curious in your experience, having been at different levels, when you go to scaling, like what tends to maybe break first? I'm going to focus on procurement. Feel free to hit on anything different with given your experience, but procurement specifically first. Like what tends to be the breaking point at scale that you've seen? Like maybe if you did this, it would have maybe helped you get over a hurdle quicker.
Yeah, I think the first thing that breaks is execution. You can have all the systems in place. You can provide people with all the tools that they could ever want or need to be successful. But if they don't execute or use them, nothing's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so what I've seen historically is, and especially from a procurement aspect, any aspect, but from a procurement specifically, you can have Dentira, you can have an ordering system, inventory management system. You can have all of these things. If your team is not using them, nothing's happening. They're adding no value. And so one of the things I love about Dentira is it has guardrails built inside. So we have formulary, we have product mapping set up. So if a team member goes to order something that's off formulary, we have set up where there's the formulary item. It literally asks them, would you prefer, your organization prefers this item? Would you rather add it to the cart instead? Right? Yes, absolutely. And so that leads into the ease of use, the platform, the system, procurement, not procurement, operations, finance, whatever it is, has to be usable and easy for the teams. If it's creating additional workflows, it's delaying the doctors, the teams from treating patients, it's delaying their day, it's adding time to their day, they will not use it. And so when we implement things, or when I implement things, when my team implements things, the things we focus on, is it easy to use? Is there guardrails built in? And do we have any system? Is there analytics to it. So can I pull reports? Can I understand usage without going into each individual office's Dentira platform and checking, did they order their Dentira or is it a non-Dentira PO? Like, what is it? Right. And so having those three things I think are really, really key.
It's huge. And it just, again, it goes back to your roadmap of setting it up appropriately and getting the buy-in and letting them know. Cause I feel like the second it slows down, like first impressions matter. And that's from not just Leann, like they got to trust Leann, but the second you put something in front of them, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to for whatever reason, and those kinks happen in some instances. So I'm not going to say it's a perfect world, but you start to lose kind of that trust and that credibility to some degree, whether it's your fault or not. And so putting those processes in play that when these things stack up, your track record shows, okay, this is really just a bump in the road. Because the second it kind of slows down, like for a doctor or an office, you can start to lose them. And then that's when things really, like going back to breaking at scale, like that's where it really starts to break. So I really appreciate kind of your perspective and putting those things together up front to kind of get that situated. But where do you see, kind of, I know we talked about procurement and this piece, but like, do you see it anywhere else from any of your other roles start to see like lacks of execution starting to really show up, whether it's kind of in a compliance setting, operational, just having visibility to things? Like, where are some of these other breaking points within your different aspects of your roles within dentistry?
Yeah, I still think it's execution. I know that's not the answer everyone wants to
Right.
hear, but that I think is the answer. From an operational perspective, if our teams don't have a good new patient flow, patients aren't going to schedule back, new patients aren't going to come see us. If our patient exams aren't concise, aren't clear, our patients aren't understanding what we're telling them, they're probably not going to schedule back for treatment. Our schedules are going to suffer. Revenue, production's going to suffer. From a financial perspective, accounts receivable, if we are not following good processes and executing on those consistently, collections is going to suffer. Collections suffers, that's cash flow. Cash flow is how we keep the business going. So, overall, I think any avenue that you look at, execution is key to everything that we do in a business in a dental office, and execution comes down to your people. And so I believe that your people are your number one priority in your offices, and you have to have systems and processes like Dentira, like a cloud-based practice management software system that's easy to use and that your teams believe in and can execute on efficiently.
Listen, let me just recap Leann so far. Get the plan in place and execute it,
Yep.
right? That is it. And it's as simple as that, it really is. But I love that you added the people there at the end. Because at the end of the day, you are essentially serving those people in that office in the sense of like, hey, I'm asking you to do this, but if you're just saying do this without the plan to actually execute, what good is it? And so you're taking that step of that ownership on your end of like, I'm going to create that roadmap, but then I need you to execute it. Right? This is what we did. And if we see kinks in it, let's work together on it. Right? There are some offices where it's different depending on the patient demographic and the insurances you use and all of those pieces. Recognize that, totally understand it. And plans can't be completely black and white all the time. It's got to be a little bit of some mending in there as much as you want to keep it probably the same as much as possible. That's where the sustainability and the scalability come from. But I just appreciate that. So again, have the roadmap, execute it. Got it. I'm going to work on that tomorrow.
Yes. And I think to execute and to have the roadmap, you have to have people. I added the people in the end, but they're really not the end. They're the beginning and the end. Everything we do starts with people in dentistry, whether it's our patients, they're people, whether it's our team members, they're people, and it ends with them as well. And so I just think it's incredibly important that if you're growing a group, if you're just trying to grow your single office, focus on your people. If your people start to execute for you because they want to, not because they have to, your execution is going to skyrocket.
Look, and when it comes to good people, I'm immediately going to, everyone's got some type of different iteration of like 6 C's of leadership. Because I think it's important. Like maybe it's not someone who's like in a true leadership piece, but there is someone no matter what role you're in, you're leading something, right? If you're a dental assistant, you're leading that portion of the office. If you're an office manager, you're leading it. If you're the doctor, you're leading different aspects. And so I'm going to give you my 6. This is kind of off the cuff here. I'm going to give you my 6 kind of C's, and I'm actually going to add a 7th. And then I'm curious, out of these, which one sticks out to you the most, just from your experience? Got character, competency, chemistry, calendar, charisma, compliance, and then my 7th C I'm gonna add is care, like having the ability to care. Any of those stick out to you from like a good, like when you're evaluating people and having good people, maybe it's one, I know, obviously, hopefully they're all good C's, but is there one that's like, man, if they have this, I can work with it?
Care, there's no question.
Yeah.
If they care about their patients, what they do every day, themselves, their team around them, the results will be there. The last thing I look for is, frankly, competency. I mean, a dental assistant, we have really strong dental assistants who can train another dental assistant. We have really strong front desk team members that can support and train another front desk team member. But if they don't care, it doesn't matter how smart they are or how competent they are. If they don't care about what they do every day, they're not going to add value to our teams.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think for me too, just I'm going to double down on that care one, but then I'm going to follow it up like a 1A, 1B is like that character side. And when they really care about it, you see that, the character should follow no matter what. But when you have that care, they're going to follow through with integrity on the things that they do. And then everything else falls into place. So I love that. I threw that at you, but that was an interesting comment. You bring it up to people, and it's a very important one. So I'm glad you did. Let's talk about frustrating offices for a little bit, because if you're in a procurement seat, if I think doctors and team members think that we love to do it. Like we wake up and say, how can we frustrate them today? So what do you think, like when it comes to procurement teams the most, what frustrates offices? Like what is that big hurdle?
There's a couple things. I think what frustrates teams is if they think we're always just looking for the least expensive or cheapest option out there. I think that is definitely number one. Number two, I think, is if it doesn't make sense to them from a clinical perspective, whether it's the ordering or whatever the product is, if it just doesn't make sense and they don't understand why, then the buy-in is not, it's like we're there just to make their lives harder.
Yeah. So how do you combat that then, right? So you've got kind of you're establishing different rules or parameters, however you want to call it, formulary, preferred item list, maybe. Everyone's got their different verbiage for that. It's a real point. And if you want to be, successful in a sense and really try to make an impact on providing patient care at a reasonable cost and all of these things where costs are going up, insurance premium, like, or I guess reimbursements are going down. We're trying to navigate that world. Like that's the reality in DSOs right now. But how are you combating that to get that buy-in? Like what's your process for that?
I think it all starts with the team's understanding why, and us as leaders on the team helping the team to understand why we do procurement, why we do formulary. If they don't understand the basis of what we're doing and why we're doing it, there's going to be no added value or buy-in with them. And so I try to start with the why procurement's important, taking it back to not just supplies, but the bigger picture of its alignment as a group and buying power as a group. And so when I start talking about why we do formulary, it's so we can pick items as a company, as an organization that we truly believe in, that impact clinical care every day, and we can increase our volume on those specific items. If we increase volume equals leverage in pricing. And so at the end of the day, if we can all align on a few products that are what I would call clinically sensitive, we can spend more on items that are brand named for composites, for fluoride, for things that I like to call clinically sensitive. So generally leaving with the patient in the patient's mouth, we can add value there from a volume perspective, reducing our cost. And then we can save more money on disposables, things, cotton rolls, gauze, things that don't leave with the patient at all. And the patient probably doesn't care which kind you use, whether it's named brand, Patterson, house brand, Henry Schein brand. They don't care as long as it's not leaving with them. So they don't know what package it comes out of. So that's what I try to focus on when I'm leading procurement processes and change management, is helping the teams understand our goal, what we're trying to achieve, why it matters from a formulary perspective, and then at the end of the day, the outcome. The outcome is they get to use name brand composites, name brand cements, name brand whatever it is that they want, and we get the win through disposables.
Yeah. No, I remember having a conversation with someone and we were talking about kind of what you're hitting on right now. And I remember him saying, no patient has ever sat down and is like, is that a 3M composite you're about to use? Like they've never asked that. But they trust the doctor and they trust who that is. So that collaboration is important, but it's also important for us to be able to educate as we're the ones being, the forward facing with all the new products and what changes. Like, hey, here's what's new. Here's this. Like, can you want to try it, doc? Or does a tray cover, right? If there's a patient watching right now, have you ever really cared what color a tray cover is that the hygienist or whoever's putting their instruments on? No, it's not. It's not patient impacting. And I love that you hit that if it's in the patient's mouth, we do take that seriously. Like, I'm so glad that Iowa Dental Associates does that. I think a lot of groups do. That's very important to have a real true care about the quality of care that you're providing and not just putting something in someone's mouth. But I have a question. Do you have kids, Leann?
I have two,
You have 2. What are their ages?
7 and 9,
Okay. Have you ever said, "Because I said so"?
every day.
Do you say that to the offices at all?
Absolutely not.
I think I might have before, so you're a lot better than me on
Yeah.
that.
I want to. Sometimes I want
Oh, of
to.
course.
Yeah, yeah, I want to, but I know? No, I probably did once early in my career, and I probably
Yeah,
learned how
exactly.
well that
I've made that mistake, and
probably
then I got
learned
the
how
phone
well that
call
worked
after.
for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got the phone call after. Yeah, don't do that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Help me. And so I am going to ask this question, right? We're a Dentira sponsored podcast, but you've already kind of hit on it some. And so I don't want you to have to feel too redundant here, but what actually in your mind makes a procurement platform or just process get adopted across a DSO? Like, what is it that really helps?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about it already, but the main things are ease of use, and the teams can use it without causing delays or chaos or time issues in their day. If it makes their lives easier, they will use it every single day. That is the thing I look for every single time. In my experience, I've done acquisitions, lots of acquisitions, and the ones that I've been heavily a part of, our process is here's our roadmap for where we want to go. You're integrating into the Iowa Dental Associates family. Here's our roadmap. Here's the things we will do. I have a list of things that we need to accomplish over the next 6 months with my new offices. Of this list, I sit down with them. I say, what on this list is attractive to you? What do you want to start with? So it's a partnership with the teams. And almost always they say, what's Dentira? And I explain to them, well, the great news is you no longer have to order from your office supplies from Amazon. You don't have to go to Amazon and then go to Henry Schein or Patterson or or whatever the other distributor manufacturer is and order from all these different companies. You can now order your office supplies, your dental supplies, all in one place. They always choose that. That is the first thing they choose because it makes their life easier. And also on our end, from an organization perspective, it makes our life easier too. We have reporting. We can now see what they're ordering. I can pull reports from an analytical side and see and compare what are they ordering compared to what our long-term consistent offices that are a part of us for long periods of time and are successful with ordering. So we get the data and they get an ease of use. There's a lot of other really great reasons, but at the end of the day, if it's easier for them to use, they're going to use it.
Yeah. I mean, the adaptability, right? It can't be something that's drawn out. It takes a lot of steps and all the pieces. You see it in so many things. Like you create at least because I'm sure on your other roadmaps, like in the different processes, like some had to be drawn, but simplify it. Like is that the KISS method? Like keep it stupid simple,
Yes.
right? Like I almost said simple stupid, but that's not right. But you get the idea. Keep it simple for them, and I think that's what we try to do with our platform as well. Because there can still, even if it's simple though, you can still make mistakes rolling it out. And so I don't know if there's any mistakes that you've and talking with you, Leann, I feel like you've got it to a T, right? So maybe there's not, but are there any mistakes that you've seen just with rolling out platforms as a whole that maybe you've learned from that other listeners today can maybe take away from that and not make the same mistake?
Yeah, I mean, from a Dentira perspective, I've done complete organizational rollouts twice now, fully start to finish at this point. So I feel like this last time I did a pretty good job, pretty successful at it. I think though, when we think about any system or any process rollout, getting the team that it's going to impact most. So if it's the office managers, if it's the individual who is in charge of ordering supplies in the practice, getting them on a call and really creating an environment where this is open-ended time. Send me all your questions, have them email them in, and then you answer them on that call. Give them the space to have the pushback with me versus having pushback with their teams. So
Yeah.
creating a space that it's okay to get pushback, it's okay to challenge the process, it's okay to ask questions in this setting, control that setting so that it's not done when I'm not on the call with their teams in their offices.
Oh, I love that. And what you're doing by doing that is protecting the culture. That is so important, and I commend you for doing that. Being able to take those extra time, being able to be the punching bag, but to protect everyone else. That is a rare trait. So kudos to you, Leann, for that. I got one more question for you today, and then we'll wrap up. But just for anyone listening, right? And again, I want to emphasize our audience. It can be small up and coming DSOs, maybe a single practice, maybe even a larger practice, whatever it is. For someone listening, like what's one way, one quick win that they can implement right away to really improve their procurement systems, pricing, whatever it is? What's one quick takeaway you'd love to share?
In the nature of talking about procurement, I'll keep it on that. I think there's a ton of operational wins you can implement pretty quickly. But I would say identify your top 20 items from a procurement aspect that you're spending dollars on. Take those 20 items, drive volume, and then go back to your manufacturers and drive pricing savings. If you can take those top 20 items, get all your team on board to support those, you can have some serious impacts from a spend perspective from procurement. And
Eighty
Dentira
20.
has a really easy top 20 spend report you can pull. So
There you go. There's the plug. I didn't even pay her to do that. Thanks, Leanne. No, this has been great. The 80/20 rule definitely applies. It applies on a lot of things, but really quit trying to spin wheels on things you buy once or twice. Like try to consolidate that into that 20, right? And even make that impact, right? And that's where that collaboration that you've really persisted on today really matters. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the way that you approach it and give us all a good name in the procurement seat because it sounds like you guys are doing some incredible things. And I really look forward to watching your group grow and just seeing how you do it. Because again, not being PE backed is definitely different. It puts you in an anomaly right now, but it puts you in a really unique creative space to be able to do things slightly differently. So again, I look forward to just keeping up with your journey and seeing how that goes. For anyone listening, look, we're thankful that you joined us. Thankful for Leann and what she brought to here. I think what we can really take away is again, have your roadmaps and execute. That is something that I'm sure all of Iowa Dental Associates has learned since she's been there since last July. But look, it's a simple takeaway that we can all benefit from. So again, thanks for listening. And again, subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends as we really try to get this out and just try to bring some insight to help people not make the same mistakes that we've made in our seats. So again, we'll talk to you soon.
absolutely. Thank you.